Scholar has an identity as a tactical healer capable of managing the battlefield through shields and pet heals. In Endwalker, the tactical aspects of Scholar have been boosted through Sonic the Hedgehog cosplay. It's not that bad, I promise. Firstly, Aetherflow has had the MP restoration effect doubled from 10% to 20%. This is probably to balance the change made to energy drain as it no longer restores MP. This means that if you're having to spend your stacks on healing abilities, Scholar's MP should be slightly better. Deployment Tactics now has a 90-second recast timer. Also, Whispering Dawn and other fairy skills seem to have received a large nerf in potency, but this may be due to changes in pet scaling, maybe, I don't know, don't quote me on that though, I'm actually not too sure. For the new skills, we have Protraction, which is an ability that increases an ally's HP by 10% and heals them for that same amount. It lasts for 10 seconds and has a 60-second recast timer. It's kind of like Warrior's Thrill of Battle, but mostly it seems like it'll be used as an off-GCD single target heal. Expedient is the level 90 skill, and it applies a party-wide mitigation and movement speed buff. Okay, so this movement speed buff thing has been a huge meme in the community, but I'll attempt to give it a fair analysis. So this movement speed buff seems to be around the same speed as Sprint. In an ideal world, I think there are no mechanics in 14 that require Sprint to solve, but it's definitely nice to have for many mechanics. I believe that it is actually more useful than it seems. There are many mechanics which both deal a lot of damage and require a lot of movement. For example, in E12S, spoilers, there is the Shiva Icicle and Titan Bomb phases. Expedient really shines for these mechanics because it reduces the damage you take while giving you more leeway in the execution of these mechanics. Having Expedient up constantly for a mechanic allows people to sprint more freely, and it's much better than having to sprint after making a mistake. Overall, it's really not as bad as it sounds on first impression. It helps to give a margin of error, and sprinting for 15 seconds is actually pretty strong, and obviously they do not stack. The change to 1.5 second GCDs is also a massive boost for Scholars. The job has a large number of off-GCD abilities, and this boosts Scholar's damage and makes it smoother to play. However, the pet side of Scholar still has many issues. I'm not sure if they did anything with pet scaling, but that might be a thing. And also, okay, quite frankly, in the media tour, I was playing on 5 FPS and a 1 second delay the entire time. So while my footage isn't affected, it's difficult for me to say how I felt with the whole fairy situation, but in my experience, Seraph still eats fairy skills and double weaving the normal pet skills didn't feel smooth. Sometimes it worked better than others, but that's pretty much it. Overall, they're not in a horrible spot, but I think the annoying pet issues that plague the job throughout Shadowbringers seem to still be a problem in Endwalker. Sage is the new barrier healer added in Endwalker with a focus on healing through dealing damage. It has two resources, Adder's Gall and Adder's Sting, both of which can have a maximum of 3 stacks. Adder's Gall is a resource that passively builds itself up every 20 seconds, while Adder's Sting will be explained later. Diagnosis is a single target heal, and Prognosis is the AoE version, both of which have no special effects. However, these heals can have additional effects triggered through an ability known as Eucrasia, allowing it to be Eucrasian Diagnosis and Eucrasian Prognosis. The Eucrasian version of these spells have less healing potency but give shields, have no cast time, and cost more MP. When the shield given by Eucrasian Diagnosis is broken, the Sage gains 1 stack of Adder Sting. Another skill that interacts with Eucrasian shields is Pepsis. Pepsis removes any shields you have on yourself or allies, turns them into a heal, and is available every 15 seconds. Drucoal is an ability that heals a single target, which is similar to Scholar's Lustrate. Torocol is similar to Drucoal, but has an additional effect of reducing the target's damage taken by 10% for 15 seconds with a 45 seconds recast. Caracol is an AoE centered around the Sage, which applies a regen effect and reduces damage taken by 10% for 15 seconds with a recast timer of 30 seconds. Do note that the damage reduction of Caracol and Torocol do not stack. Ixacol is an instant AoE heal that is centered around the Sage and is the equivalent of Scholar's Indom. Each of these skills require 1 stack of Adderskull and grants 5% MP. Holos is another instant AoE heal that's similar to Ixochol, but has a slightly lower potency, longer recast time, and does not consume Adderskull. Physis is an AoE regen ability that lasts for 21 seconds and is available every 60 seconds. This is comparable to Scholar's Whispering Dawn, but it comes from the Sage and is slightly stronger. They also have Physis 2, another AoE regen ability, but with the additional effect of increasing HP recovered by healing magic by 10% for 15 seconds. However, it has a 180 second cooldown. Crisis is a single target ability which increases HP recovery from healing actions by 20% for 10 seconds. Haima is an interesting ability which grants a barrier on a single target that can absorb 150 potency of damage and give 5 stacks of Haimatenon which lasts for 30 seconds. Whenever the barrier is completely absorbed, a stack of Haimatenon is consumed and a new barrier is applied with the same potency. Any remaining stacks at the end of the duration are converted into heals. Panhaima is the AoE equivalent of Haima, having a very similar effect, but they cannot stack. Both skills have a 120 second recast timer and are good in situations where the party will be taking damage multiple times in a row quickly. Cardia is an ability which marks a party member who will receive a buff that heals them whenever the Sage casts offensive spells. The main attack spell of Sage is Dosis. Under the effect of Eucrasia, it changes into Eucrasian Dosis, a 30-second dot spell. Discrasia is their main AoE attack, which damages enemies in a circle around the Sage. Phlegma is also an AoE attack that is available every 45 seconds and has 2 charges. For some reason, Phlegma has a very short cast range of only 6 yalms, requiring the Sage to be in melee range. Toxicon is an AoE damage spell that damages a circle around the target and costs 1 Adder Sting to use. And finally, there's your level 90 spell, Pneuma, a line AoE damage spell that grants an AoE heal and applies a 10% reduction to damage taken for 20 seconds. It is available every 120 seconds and does not share a recast timer with any spells. All of these will grant a heal to your Cardia target and can be boosted by Soteria, a 10-second buff which doubles the potency of heals to the partner. Other unique spells and abilities include Rizomata, which is an ability that grants 1 stack of Adderskull every 90 seconds. Zoe is an ability which doubles the amount cured by your next healing spell, which should also work to double the shields from Eucrasian Prognosis and Diagnosis. Finally, there's Icarus, an ability which targets an ally or enemy and moves the Sage to their location. Sage looks like an interesting take on healers, with many of its offensive abilities also granting incidental healing. In terms of healing abilities, Sage shares many similarities with Scholar. However, Sage's healing abilities are centered around themselves. This means the job lacks the ability to place heals like Scholar's Sacred Soil or Astrologian's Earthly Staff. This has pros and cons depending on how much movement is needed in a fight. Another interesting thing to note is that all Adderskull abilities are heals. There is no way to convert Gauge into damage. This contrasts with Scholars who can turn extra stacks of Aether Flow into damage through Energy Drain. Since Sage and Scholar both compete for the role of Barrier Healer, there will be many comparisons. Sage doesn't have any party damage buff abilities but brings more personal damage. While Sage doesn't have free mobility with spammable instants like Ruin 2, they do have a couple of instant GCD shields which allow healing while moving. It's got a unique playstyle and looks really cool, so please look forward to trying Sage and Endwalker. If you want to know more about the other jobs, there is a playlist in the description below. Alright, stay hydrated, drink water, water good, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!